believe you're ready to continue on, so we out of recess, and I'd like to rise and report from the Committee of the Whole closed session. I would like to rise and report on the items dealt with in Committee of the Whole closed session pertained to personnel matters. Now, on item number 4 of the regular meeting of the board, the National Anthem and Acknowledgement of Traditional Lands. If we could please rise for our acknowledgement and National Anthem, and please turn off your cameras while this occurs.
We would like to acknowledge
that we are here today
on the traditional territory
of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation.
Nous tenons à reconnaître que nous sommes sur le territoire traditionnel
des Mississauga de la
Première Nation de Credit.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Quand on grâce est porté le pays, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Excuse me. Item number 5, approval of the agenda. I approve the agenda for this evening. I have no conflicts of interest to declare. Item 7.1, Tamil Heritage Month in January. The recognition of Tamil Heritage Month each January by Canadians occurs through the motion unanimously adopted by Parliament in May 2016. Tamil Heritage Month affords the opportunity to learn more about the history, language, and culture of one of the largest Tamil diasporas right here in Canada. Tamil Heritage Month includes Thai Pongal, a 4-day festival when community members express thanks for abundance and renewal. Friday, January 14th, 2022 through to Monday, January the 17th, 2022 marks the Tamil Thai Pongal this year. Improving the well-being and achievement of all students at the Peel District School Board occurs through our publicly stated commitments to anti-racism, anti-oppression, and pandemic health and safety protocols. The recognition of Tamil heritage adds to the opportunities students have for engaging, equitable, and inclusive online and in-person learning and culturally relevant programming. Item number 8, 8.1, retirements. I would like to acknowledge all our retirees and thank them for their many years of dedicated service to the Peel District School Board, and we wish you every success in your future endeavors. The following are the retirees this month: Deemas Aruda, Dilip Banerjee, Cindy Bachelar, Sue Brown, Bruce Eckersley, Karen Ganter, Bradley Gordon, Jennifer Jocks, Bopinder Johal, Clifford Kachuluba, Paloma Lawrence, Maureen Lothian, Jane Marshall, Tommy McCardle, Susan McCron, Kimberly Menezes, Vinka Muloslavik, Robert Nadu, Paul Officer, Natalie Smachello, Sharon Spence, Lisa Swinsko, Anil Zuber, Marcia Van Wagener, Ruth Watson, and Linda Weeks. Again, thanks all for your dedicated service to the Peel District School Board. I have no announcements this evening. And we're on to item number 10, report from the student trustees. Peel Student Equity Council Student Trustee Zhao.
Hi everyone, it's Student Trustee Selena Zoe here again. It's great to see you guys again. I just wanted to give a quick report on our reinstallation of the Student Equity Council, which we're going to be renaming into the Student Advisory Council. So just to quickly go over what is the Student Advisory Council. So this is going to be a council where students get to join and speak about any concerns or comments that they have regarding their school, the board, or their education. And this was also a part of my platform back in April 2021. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be meeting monthly or every 2 months, probably virtually, and it'll be open to students all across the board, where we'll be able to drop in and speak about issues that they have or give them updates as to what the board is working on. So what it has looked like in the previous years, there was a Student Equity Council that was instated last year, as well as a Relationships and Race Steering Committee that was instated last year, where students met up on a regular basis to speak about issues that they had seen. And we're reinstating the SAC this year because we want a more open forum for students to be able to bring up whatever questions they have in an oral format where they can speak and make discussion with their fellow students as well as with people a part of the board. And also just because we want to have a continuation of the Student Equity Council, which was supposed to be set up last year. So again, this is just going to look like around monthly meetings where we drop in. If we have better circumstances, we're also looking to have in person, but we'll stay virtual for the majority of the year, especially for accessibility purposes. And then unlike the Student Equity Council last year, there will not be any applications. Last year, Student Equity Council had students apply to be a part of the council, but this year we want it to be kind of more of a drop-in program where students can register beforehand just to let us know how many people are going to be joining, but there's not going to be a mandated attendance or a application process, just because we want to have it as accessible and equitable to anyone who wants to join and who wants to speak up. And then finally, we're also going to have structured meetings that will go through first an open forum discussion, and then a more structured part of the meeting where we kind of break down the issues and see if we want to move forward with it or if we want to have more conversations about it. So that's just a update on the Student Advisory Council. It'll probably be instated sometime in January because we're still setting up, and hopefully we can also work with organizations like the Be Well Healthline in order to also get students advice and feedback on mental health. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Student Trustee Zhou. And we move to item 11, reports from trustees appointed to external organizations. Trustee Benjamin on Volunteer Mississauga Brampton Caledon Center.
Thank you, Supervisor Rodriguez. I present to the board a report on the VMBC. What is VMBC? VMBC is the acronym for Volunteer Mississauga Brampton Caledon. It is a registered charity that fuels purposeful connections between people, organizations, and community members to foster and promote the spirit of volunteerism and to really drive long-term and systemic change in the region of Peel. VMBC is comprised of over 150 not-for-profit member organizations serving the region of Peel in many ways. It has a multi-pronged approach with programs and volunteer opportunities for new immigrants, residents of the communities of Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon, and the youth. VMBC recruits thousands of volunteers, including students, for not-for-profit organizations. People of all ages can create a volunteer profile on their website, www.volunteerebc.org, to find a volunteer opportunity that matches their interests and skills. Youth initiatives. VMBC offers significant youth engagement opportunities, especially to students by providing avenues to help students develop their skills and employability, improve their health and well-being, and increase their sense of purpose and belonging in the community. Early Leaders is one of the many programs that involves high school youth mentoring middle school youth to make a difference. This year, VMBC has introduced several new pilot programs like the Youth Media Team that conducts advocacy online to promote community causes. To celebrate International Volunteer Day on December 5th, VMBC held a successful, first of its kind virtual volunteer youth expo led by youth, where students presented on their own youth-led initiatives and shared volunteer opportunities with other youth. What the PDSB can do: superintendents of family of schools can provide this information to principals, vice principals, and guidance counselors of their schools. Schools can invite an ambassador from VMBC to talk about the importance of volunteering and how to get involved. And this information could also be provided to our grade 8 students graduating to high school. What is the trustee's role? One trustee voluntarily opts to be on the board of the VMBC. We attend 2 meetings a month. One is the board meeting, and the second is as a member of one of the several committees of the board. And I'm a member of the ambassador committee. Other information: apart from services provided, some major annual events to raise funds for the VMBC are the We Oscars, or Oscars as it's called. It's an annual gala that recognizes excellence in volunteering. And the highlight of this event is the Hazel McCallion Lifetime Achievement Volunteer Award, given to a person who has been a lifetime volunteer in the community. The Peel Cares event on International Volunteers Day is held to recognize the Volunteer of the Year, and the annual golf tournament is the third major fundraising event. During the course of 2020-2021, VMBC focused on reviewing its vision and mission statements to align with the current emphasis on EDI, that is equity, diversity, and inclusion. And this work is still in progress. COVID and VMBC. During the pandemic, VMBC has been increasingly focused on responding to issues such as engaging volunteer drivers to deliver meals to vulnerable families, micro-volunteering campaigns to encourage simple acts of caring such as helping a neighbor, organizing food or clothing drives, tutoring, and through the Mask Marvels initiatives, seniors volunteered to stitch masks for the homeless and people living in shelters. The contact persons are Kareen Strong, the Executive Director, Shan Abbasi, Manager Community Engagement, and for general inquiries, you can call on 905-238-2622 or email info@volunteermbc.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Benjamin. Trustee Crocker on the Mississauga Traffic Safety Council.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'm the board's representative on the Mississauga Traffic Safety Council. There is a trustee representative from our contiguous board as well. There are 3 city councilors who sit on this council, as well as a number of citizen volunteers and city staff. Some of the work of the council was set aside under COVID, but the committee hit the ground running in September with refreshing, starting up walk to school programs at a number of schools. The other work of the council continues, chiefly through organizing traffic safety inspections, mainly in response to citizen or community concerns about the need for a crossing guard or improved signage, zebra crossings, that sort of work. Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Trustee Crocker. Appreciate the update. Moving on to Trustee Green on the Ontario Public School Board Association. Trustee Green.
Thank you, Supervisor Rodriguez. It's a privilege and an honor for me to represent this board at the Ontario School Board Association. The Ontario School Board Association represents 32 boards across the province and has trustee from all the various different boards across the province sitting on that association. It depends on the number of students that you have in your board. That triggers a number of trustees that sits there. For us in Peel, we have 2 director and 2 alternate director that works with the Ontario School Board Association. Myself and Kerry Andrews are the 2 director. I also sits on the executive as the vice president of enrollment for the Ontario School Board Association. Since the pandemic has started, the School Board Association has undertook a number of initiatives and working with the ministry to ensure that student health and well-being is at the forefront of everything that we do. The association has worked closely with ministry to develop protocols and processes and how we support our students, staff, and families within the school itself. We are recently one of the key piece of thing that we've been working on at the Ontario School Board Association. As we all know that the ministry announced the trustee code of conduct that they were looking and reviewing and seeking consultation from the public. The Ontario School Board Association was consulted by the ministry to also work along with them because the ministry felt that they needed to hear from the people who are the expertise that are at the table. The ministry also held a consultation with all 4 trustee association across the province to have a special 3-hour consultation. From each trustee association, 4 trustees was selected to be part of that process and that consultation. And I had the privilege of, along with myself and 3 other trustees, to represent the Ontario School Board Association, sitting in part of that consultation. Presently, based on the low consultation feedback from the survey that went out to the public that came back, the ministry has now gone back to basically seek consultation from us, from other system leaders, and hopefully there will be a final report coming back in February, so that the ministry can move on that. The other piece that the Ontario School Board Association has been working on, and this is very important for the association and its members, is the equity, looking at equity and inclusion in terms of trustees and who and how the association can encourage other trustees that are of colored minorities to run for office, and how the association can help help people who might encourage might want to run, how we can maybe provide some materials that they can start using to educate themselves before they think about running. The association went as far as brought in Turn an Association to look at the system and the structure itself, and how best that the school board itself can position itself to support boards across the province in developing policies and procedures, and looking when we're talking about equity and inclusion, discrimination, anti-Black racism, Islamophobia, and all these various isms that is affecting our boards across the province. Presently, the report was presented at one of our association meeting, and now at this point, they have brought in 2 experts that will be working with the association to draft some policies for boards, maybe smaller boards who do not have the resource to able to put those policies together to share, so boards don't have to basically go this on their own. Recently, at the most recent executive meeting, two of the main topic that we were discussing, and it's a concern for the association, was the hybrid model, and not only and also the infill rate across the province. More so, when I personally heard the numbers that was presented and where our board sits, it is of a great concern to me. I think recently I also shared this with the supervisor. The concern for me as a trustee, and and not only just for myself as a trustee, but I think it should be a concern for all of us that wants to ensure that our children has the best tool possible in their hand to take charge of their future and to reach their full potential. So I look forward, now continue bringing reports to the board in a whole, whatever is happening at the School Board Association, so that the board can be informed of the work that has been taking place at this moment. The final piece that I want to bring to your attention, the PES will be in January this year. PES stand for the Education Symposium. That will be in January. The executive, we did get some concern. We were looking to do this in person. We were looking to, after having an executive meeting, we had some feedback in terms of some people still feel comfortable maybe going virtual for at least for January, and then maybe look to the future to go in person. So presently there is a survey that will be sent out. If you have not trustees across the province should have received that that survey for feedback. If you have not received it yet, it should be coming out to say what your preference is for the symposium, whether virtually or in person. So I would encourage my colleagues also to respond, because based on the response, the symposium will go ahead, whether it's virtually or in person. But for the safety of others, myself who sits on the executive, I think we want to listen to everyone's voice and make sure that everyone's voice are heard. So Supervisor Rodriguez, I want to thank you for the time and the opportunity to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Green, and back to you, Trustee Green, for the report on the Student Transportation Appeal Region.
Well, thank you again, Supervisor Rodriguez. So I have been co-chairing the Transportation Consortium for the last, I think maybe the last 4 years, and representing Peel and the consortium with Associate Director Gill and Controller Chang. We meet every other month to look at, work with the consortium to look at how best that we can service our students of Peel in terms of transportation and getting them to and home from school in a safe manner. As we know, the pandemic has had many challenges for transportation. And as we know, a lot of our drivers that drive school buses are retired folks that drive those school buses. So because of that, there is concern, from the bus companies and also from the drivers. We are not seeing the caliber of drivers and the number of drivers that normally drive school bus. And I think because most of our retirees are still concerned about the effect of the pandemic. And the constant, every time we turn around, there's another report coming out, and something else is coming along. So we will get calls from parents from time to time that buses are arriving late and bus, are not picking up kids in time. I'm just going to ask, my trustee colleagues, just be patient, and basically because there's a shortage of drivers right now to meet the needs of all of our students. But the consortium is continue working with the operators to make sure that they are preparing and to have enough trained drivers in position so that they can ensure that our children are picked up on time and return home on time. I will continue to bring you any update that I think is relevant for us to know exactly what's going on. The last and final piece is that, as you know, when the pandemic started, we appeal. We do got a courtesy rider policy that we have in place, but the manager of transportation, in consultation with the Dr. Lowe from the Region of Peel, in terms of the courtesy rider, they had paused the courtesy rider for 1 year to ensure that the safety of students and the safety of the drivers, that is also extended and still in force. So we might get a lot of calls in terms of courtesy rider on why kids are not on the bus, and that because the consortium will continue work with the Region of Peel, and once the Region of Peel give the green light, and they feel that kids can get back and forth safe in a safe manner, and that stay is lifted, we can get those kids that are desperate to get a seat in the bus back in the bus as soon as possible. So I know that Wendy is constantly seek direction from Dr. Lowe, which is the medical officer of health for the Region of Peel, and how students are transported and in a safe manner. So thank you for that, and I appreciate it. As I said, I will continue to bring any report that I believe that is relevant to my colleagues and to the director and the supervisor. Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee Green, for that report. Moving on to Trustee McDonald for the Brampton School Traffic Safety Council. Trustee McDonald.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can, Trustee McDonald, thank you.
I seem to have difficulty turning on my camera. I'm not sure why that is. But I will just speak if that's okay.
That's great, yeah.
Okay. So due to the school closures and the COVID pandemic, the committee did not meet regularly, as much of the business of the committee was hampered due to the aforementioned closures. The meetings were all done virtually for 2021. Several site inspections were postponed, but I'm happy to report that they have begun again. And in fact, we had a site inspection today at Bramley Secondary School. The committee would like to remind boards and, well, our board, that when there are school closures, if someone or a staff member could notify the crossing guard services for the city, so as the crossing guards can be deployed to other areas. They are currently experiencing a shortage, and they would really appreciate the courtesy of a notification when there are school closures, so that the person could be deployed to another area. Thank you. And that's all I had to report on the Brampton School traffic safety.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald, and continuing with you to the OPSBA Regional Council.
Thank you. I'd just like to mention that the alternate for this committee is Suzanne Benjamin, and the chair of the Regional Council is Donna Danieli. The main work that has occurred at the Regional Council is what we call Project Compass Consultation. It has been ongoing throughout the year, and it continued to the fall. In fact, there was a just last week there was a just on Monday gone, there was a consultation held for trustees that wish to join. Trustees are asked for input on preliminary recommendations from each of the 4 subcommittees. Project Compass reviews OPSBA internal governance framework and practices. It is being led by Michael Barrett, a trustee from the Durham District School Board, as well as Kathleen Woodstock from Waterloo Region District School Board, with recommendations to be brought forward to the 2022 Annual General Meeting in June 2022. The 4 areas under review are the Governance Model and Structure Steering Committee, the Procedures and Policy Subcommittee. Sorry, I'm just listing the 4 committees, and these are the areas that they're reviewing. Number 3, the Priority Setting Process Committee, as well as the Mission, Vision, and Values Subcommittee. Trustees had an opportunity to provide input and recommendations to the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Audit that took place in the spring and summer. Some people refer to it as the Tanner-Turner Report or Audit. The COVID-19 funding pressures are other discussions that were held at the committee level. Also discussed as a region was how to better support the mental health needs of staff and students. The Ministry of Education funding guide, as well as members participated in a questionnaire helping to combat sex trafficking of elementary and secondary students. And I just wanted to, in case people were wondering what constituted the regional council, it consists of several boards, including Hamilton, Halton, Guelph, Niagara, the District of Niagara, Grand Erie, and Waterloo. And just a reminder that any trustee at the board is welcome to attend the meetings. So look for the emails that are sent out from the staff member of OPSBA. Just a reminder, I think Trustee Green mentioned it, the Public Education Symposium is on January 28th, and the next regional meeting is April the 9th, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald, and again to you on the Peel Safe and Active Routes.
Okay, thank you. My camera came back for some miracle. So I will now report on Peace Arts. So all meetings of the Peace Arts Committee were held virtually, as well as the Policy Working Committee and the Communication Working Committee. I'm a member of the Policy Working Committee, and these committees are subcommittees that meet separately. Some of the activities we as a team engage in are the National Active Transportation Strategy, active scanning for opportunities for the committee. Our terms of reference were reviewed this year. Bike to School Week. Now, unfortunately, Bike to School Week for 2021 was cancelled due to school closures, but we had Bike to School Month in June. There was Let's Move Mississauga, May 18th to the 24th. We examined factors such as street connectivity, residential density, mixed land use, etc. We have great input on students' active school travel. The Safety Village program was moved online. The Brampton Traffic Calming Campaign, we participated in that, as well as Caledon Bus Lane Initiative. In June, we had the findings of the CHASE study, which is the Child Active Transportation Safety and the Environment. and it was presented to the committee. Earlier on in the year, we had participated in the survey. We had a webinar that's focused on parents, and the recording is available at https://walkandrollpeel.ca/projects/schools.htm, or you can view it on YouTube at https://utu.be/NNW, capital N, capital NW, capital P, FFMVSB, capital A. The 12th Initiative, we are currently focused on the Winter Walk Day, which is coming for this February, the first Wednesday in February. And the hashtag we're using is hashtag Winter Walk Day 2022, WWD Peel, and hashtag Walk and Roll Peel. Finally, our initiatives, we have a School Street project, and more details will be forthcoming. The Policy Environment Working Group worked on addressing policy gaps, policy review of the school bus arm cameras, whilst the Communication Group worked on the Parent Guide. We continue to work with many partners, including the Human Environment Analysis Laboratory and Ontario Active School Travel Council, to develop policies which encourage and support active school travel, which may be defined as any mode of human-powered transportation to and from school. We promote the health, mental health, social, academic, economical, and environmental benefits to the students, their families, and the entire community. We continue to work to strengthen partnerships around the table, particularly working more closely with STOPR over the past year, and developed a fruitful relationship with the TRCA and OAST. Their ongoing support of PSARTS is invaluable to us. Given the Peel Public Health focus on COVID, we publicly, I would like to thank Laura Zeglen with the City of Mississauga for her critical role in keeping the overall active school travel initiatives rolling for 2021. And also thank you to our very own PDSB staff, Tracy Appleton, for the invaluable work that she does with the committee. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald, for those reports. And also just want to acknowledge that I missed your question, so I apologize for that. In the chat from my Heritage Month update, I will refer that to staff and have them bring back some input about your question at a later date. But thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
Continuing on to item number 12, Director's Leadership Report, Director Swaroop.
Thank you, Supervisor Rodriguez. Good evening, trustees, staff, and community members. As the year 2021 comes to a close in a few weeks, I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to all staff for their commitment, dedication, and resilience, to all students for their adaptability with the different learning models, and to all families and community members for their continued support and understanding. This evening, I'd like to share a few key reflections of the last 4 months. Let me begin with the first topic, communications. I'm excited to announce that the very first issue of the Touchpoint Newsletter has launched today. This newsletter will be one of the ways that I will interact and keep community and staff informed about learning and the experiences students are having at school through highlighting student community and staff voice. Next, I want to speak about safety. Creating safe learning environments during the pandemic has been a priority. We are continuing to work closely with Peel Public Health to implement the directions of the Ministries of Education and Health as it applies to our region. And Peel Public Health has extended their appreciation for the efforts of the board and the community have made to protect students and schools from COVID-19. We have posted letters from the ministries and Peel Public Health regarding the additional vigilance that will be required as we gather over the winter break. In particular, the use of rapid antigen test kits for those who are asymptomatic. I encourage everyone to read these letters on our website. And you'll hear more about this in the COVID-19 update later in the meeting. Next, I want to speak about our ongoing work and priority, the ministry directives. In the midst of the pandemic, the work of fulfilling the ministry directives and beyond remains our collective responsibility to ensure that we address the disparities and disproportionalities facing Black and Indigenous students. It requires everyone to notice, name, and disrupt how racism is operating within our spaces, our structures, and our practices. Our focus and commitment are clear to eradicate and uproot anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, and all forms of racism and oppression. The ministry directives and our 4 pillars of student success are the compass to all our work. These commitments are necessary in order to interrupt and eliminate systemic discrimination that has led to disparities in achievement, outcomes, and experiences for African, Afro-Caribbean, Black, Indigenous, and other racialized students. I would like to highlight from the report on Directive 9, which is the annual Equity Accountability Report Card, 2 key questions that guided the research team. The first question was, in what ways have the ministry review and directives impacted the schooling experiences of African, Afro-Caribbean, and Black students? And the second question was, what changes would students like to see within their school environments that would shift the experiences of African, Afro-Caribbean, and Black students? These questions are addressed by educators at one of our schools, Harold F. Locken. Let us see the video and learn how staff are making changes to the school's learning environment by creating meaningful and authentic ways to promote identity-affirming and responsive teaching and learning spaces.
We're here today with my staff team to share some of the practices that we've put in place to dismantle anti-Black racism and all other forms of racism in our school as a result of the ministry review. I'm going to start with saying that dismantling racism is not an easy fix. There's no quick formula to dismantle it. It requires dedication, commitment, and it's real hard work. So the approach that we took at HF Lock-In here was all hands on deck and all minds and hearts and souls in action kind of mode, where we decided to form an equity task force team. So our staff members today from the equity team will be sharing some of the practices that we put in place and and where we've had success stories, and also we challenged the status quo. We disrupted the things that have in the past practiced in order to ensure that our students, especially our marginalized students, including Black, Indigenous, and other racialized students, were successful in the classrooms.
Our equity task force led an extensive equity audit. Results of the audit would serve as a blueprint for our work moving forward. Results of the audit shed light on what was working well, where we were getting stuck, and what we needed to do differently.
Our school is committed to leadership and capacity building, as well as student learning and well-being to ensure all staff have the required competencies to do the job. As part of our de-streaming initiative, we began building capacity for streaming in math at all levels starting in kindergarten. Teachers are beginning to explore UDL more intentionally in their programming, and we are seeing students engaging in mathematical thinking more organically. Focusing on de-streaming is a critical component of the ministry's directive to dismantle anti-Black racism, and at HFL we are ensuring this process of de-streaming is beginning right from kindergarten to higher grades at the elementary level.
Last year at HFL, the staff had the opportunity to participate in a book club. And this was seen as a way to further prepare us to take on the anti-racist work that was long overdue. These books challenged us. They challenge the way we think, the way we approach the educational system, and they force many of us to check our own biases that we bring into the class. So through many of those conversations, we learn just how much we have to unlearn within our own practices.
Parent involvement and student engagement has been another focus at HFL to make sure we are continuing to dismantle racism, specifically anti-Black racism at our school. Throughout the school year, we have also celebrated Black excellence, Black joy, and pride in Black heritage. Black role models from the community have been invited to facilitate workshops so students are able to meet members of the community that are very successful and identify as Black.
So this is our equity at HFL website that we have created as our equity task force, which I mentioned before is available to our staff, our students, as well as the community members. We have many sections in this website, including student voice in the classroom, as well as the school community, professional development, as well as the equity task force team. So if I go to the in the classroom section, we have HFL word of the week, and they're all documented here. So these words are introduced in context, and discussions are held at length between students and the educators in the classroom. We have lists of read-alouds posted here, and again, it was shared with the community as well, and it's available to them as well if they would want to consult with it. Then we have weekly news roundup. We have the primary news and junior news, making sure that they're developmentally appropriate for the students who are discussing these news.
As a school and as individual teachers, we have made a commitment to include anti-racist and own voices texts in our teaching resources, in our classrooms and school library. Getting these books into the hands of our students is so important, and they enjoy making connections to characters with whom they can identify.
Ensuring student learning and well-being, especially our Black, Indigenous, and marginalized students, has been a priority for our board. So at HFL, we have been working really hard to ensure our students are receiving culturally responsive pedagogy in our classrooms.
Last year, in alignment with the ministry directives to form Black advocacy community partnership groups, the Mississauga units started their journey to support a space to hear the voices of the Black community. These voices have informed how to better serve through dialogue to address the needs and wants for the best outcomes for Black students who have been historically marginalized.
This year within our unit, we have outlined a cohesive school improvement plan that explicitly aligns with the ministry directives to extend our interrogation and criticality as it relates to assessment and instruction, community engagement, progressive discipline, and de-streaming to create actionables. Within the advocacy group, we have introduced a pathway to foster a mutual partnership and exchange between staff and community. In doing so, we are intentionally shifting the culture from families having a voice at the end of the table in the final stages of dessert to intentionally being part of the meal prep, which involves co-planning at all stages of actioning the directives.
Hi, my name is Casita Bailey Hart, and I'm the Community Chair for the Black Advocacy Committee. It's a great opportunity at this time to have this role. Why? Because I believe in what's happening and the change is good. From Black excellence with Miss A at North Park to having a voice when we have a concern, that it be heard and actions being taken to address our concerns is amazing. Not only am I a mother with 3 children within Peel, but I also am a proud employee, and I'm glad that I'm making a difference beyond my titled role to serve the community.
As the principal of Harold F. Locken Public School, I feel extremely proud and happy that our staff have put enormous amount of time in dismantling the racism that has been there in the system. They have been brave to disrupt the status quo. They have been supportive in doing the learning and bringing the learning to the students. The students have been really happy, and they are talking about the impact on a regular basis as I have formal and informal conversations with them as we complete the surveys that include parents as well as students. Thank you.
Thank you to the staff of Harold F. Locken. This video is a reminder that each of us has a crucial part to play in the transformation of Peel District School Board. And on that note, a little bit on change management. This year has tested our change management skills, aptitude, and attitude. Change requires steadfast and focused commitment to disrupt, to unlearn, and reimagine how to ensure equitable outcomes and experiences for all students, specifically those who have been historically underserved. Often, there will be times where the path is not clear, or we are met with resistance and hardship. I encourage all of us to remain rooted in our moral and legal purpose, and to stay focused on our collective goal to dismantle all forms of systemic racism in order to create an excellent public education system for all students. I'm reminded of a quote by Barack Obama, which says, "If you are walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you will make progress." I see progress in schools, and I'm filled with hope and optimism. At Hillcrest Middle School, students introduced me to their giving tree and shared their commitment to social justice. These are some of the quotes from the grade 7 and 8 students that you see in the next picture. So one student said, "We talk about powerful women breaking the glass ceiling. We talk about 2S LGBTQ+ rights and children's rights worldwide." Another student spoke about the Black Student Advisory that they have, which is open to all students of any gender, skin tone, race, or background who want to be allies in the fight against anti-Black racism. The student said, "In Black Student Advisory, we talk about social justice issues from the past and present and how we can make a change in the future." And when I hear our students, in our students' voices, I see reflected the work of our educators and administrators who nurture the skills and competencies in our students to be the change they want to see in the world. And on that promising note, I conclude my remarks and wish everyone a season of joy and celebration. Enjoy the holidays, be well, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Swaroop, for those comments and certainly the wonderful video as well. There are no items on the consent agenda this evening. Moving on to 14.1 minutes of the board meeting from November the 24th, 2021. I believe there is some clarification for the minutes of the board meeting for November 24th, 2021. Director Swaroop.
Thank you, Supervisor Rodriguez, and through you, I will ask General Counsel Giselle Basanta to provide information about Directive 1, which was referred to in the meetings in the last board.
Thank you, Director Swarup, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. What we're suggesting is that there be a slight amendment to the November 20, at the November 24th, 2021 meeting, the report entitled Progress Update and Revised Timelines, Ministry of Education Directives to the Peel District School Board, indicated that Directive 1 was completed, and so did the reports prior to that. For further clarity, the intention was to note that this directive was completed because the process for mediation had been set. But however, as mediation has not occurred with all members of the board substantively, Directive 1 is ongoing, and we will update that report accordingly and continue to report to the ministry on any future developments on Directive 1. We offer that as an amendment to the minutes today.
Okay. Understand the clarification, and with that clarification and amendment reflected in the minutes, I will approve the minutes of the board meeting for November 24th, 2021. Going to item 15.1, 2, and 3, I'm in receipt of the minutes of the Parent Involvement Committee of October 28th, 2021, the minutes of the Audit Committee of November 15th, 2021, and the minutes of the Special Education Advisory Committee of November 16th, 2021. Item 16.1, COVID-19 update number 13, Director Swarup.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I will ask Superintendent Scaccato to provide the update number 13 on COVID-19.
Thank you, Director Swarup, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. As a part of Peel District School Board's ongoing commitment to student learning and student safety, we continue to be transparent in reporting of positive cases of COVID-19 in our schools. I would like to provide a summary of the number of COVID-19 cases for this month. The data is as of December 15th, 2021. The number of students verified in elementary in-person learning is 86,328. The number of students verified in secondary in-person learning, 33,560. Number of confirmed COVID-19 student cases is 124 with a percentage of 0.10%. We've also had 26 staff cases and 5 confirmed outbreaks. I would also like to share that PDSB has closed 3 schools related to the Omicron variant. Now, Peel Public Health has required fully vaccinated staff to isolate when exposed. The temporary absence of this many staff has placed considerable pressure on our ability to provide safe supervision, continue with all educational programming, and to maintain operations in an in-person environment at our schools. As well, in partnership with Peel Public Health, there was a joint closure which took into consideration both transmission rates and operations. And finally, today, Peel Public Health has declared a suspect Omicron outbreak at one of our schools and recommended them for closure due to the large number of cohorts dismissed. We commit to keeping our communities aware of all cases and closures. I will now ask Executive Officer of Human Resources, Massimo Kangura, to share attestation numbers.
Thank you, Superintendent Scaccato and Director Swarup. The staff immunization disclosure numbers read as follows. To date, we've had a grand total of total responses of 23,197, which reflects a response rate of 96.5%. We've had between the as a delineation of the grand total, with no staff attesting as no as their disclosure is 1,841, representing 7.65%. Total yeses is 21,356, sitting at 88.85, approximately 89%. Staff who have not declared thus far are significantly reduced to 97, representing a mere 0.40%. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Executive Officer. Thank you, Executive Officer Kangura, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. I'd now like to share about our mandatory vaccination for inter-school athletes, coaches, and volunteers. In November of 2021, Peel Public Health issued a letter in order to reduce the potential spread of COVID-19 that recommended boards require vaccination of students 12 years and older, coaches and volunteers to participate in extracurricular outdoor high contact sports and all extracurricular indoor sports for inter-school teams. As we continue to follow the guidance and recommendations of Peel Public Health, the Peel District School Board operationalized this recommendation, and it took place immediately for all student athletes who met the criteria outlined by Peel Public Health. Finally, I'd like to share, as a part of our ongoing commitment to student, staff, and community safety, the testing initiatives that Peel District School Boards are participating in as a part of the ministry's targeted COVID-19 rapid antigen tests, screening to keep schools safe. In collaboration with Peel Public Health and following the direction of the Ministry of Education, schools have received both rapid antigen tests and polymerase chain reaction tests, PCR tests. The rapid antigen tests are used in two ways. First of all, during outbreaks and high case counts, Peel Public Health can direct schools for all students in the school that are not determined to be close contacts to take home a rapid antigen test. It is recommended by Peel Public Health that close contacts take a PCR test. As well, for the winter break, every single in-person student learner in the school is being sent home with a rapid antigen test as directed by the Ministry of Education. Families are being asked to test every 3 days over the break. I would like to please note that parents were given the option to opt out of this or choose to pick up testing kits in person. And finally, coming in January, we will be issuing PCR tests as directed by Peel Public Health for any close contacts of a case or students that are being sent home with symptoms. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Sakado. Thank you, Executive Officer Kangura, and thank you, Director Swaroop. Are there any questions? I have one question, just given the announcements of today, and I recognize that it's fresh, and so you might not have had enough time to gather the team together. In terms of the runway that you have for students leaving school for the winter, for the break, are there any decisions that have already been made as to how to facilitate them going home? Will they be taking Chromebooks home or other things like that? Is that information going to be forthcoming to parents, and how is that going to unfold?
Yes, through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. We are guided in our decision making around opening of schools in January by the Ministry of Education and Peel Public Health. There has been, as you know, no formal announcement, but in anticipation of that, we have sent home devices with all students who need them and provided opportunities for families to communicate directly with principals if they need devices, just to be sure that we are prepared in any event.
Thanks, Superintendent Sakado. Again, thank you as always for those comprehensive updates. They're very, very helpful, and really appreciate all of the work that goes into it. So thank you for that. And I am in receipt of the report on the COVID-19 update number 13. Moving on to 16.2, the ministry directives. 16.2A, Directive 9, Equity Accountability Report Card, Amplifying the Voices of African, Afro-Caribbean, and Black Students. Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, now I will ask Associate Director Lynn Strangway to present the report on Directive 9.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez and Director Swaroop. On September 30th, Senior Research Coordinator Murray and I presented the Equity Accountability Report Card, Directive 9 of the Ministry Directives. That report presented data from the 2018-19 school year to establish a baseline of disproportionality measures so that improvement could be measured over time. On November 24th, Senior Research Coordinator LaShawn Murray presented the first addendum to the Equity and Accountability Report Card. That report, called Exploring the Equity Gap by Faith and Spirituality, Part 1, presented the narratives of students from the Sikh faith and students from the Muslim faith gathered through student focus groups. Today, Senior Research Coordinator Murray will present the findings from the second addendum to the Equity Accountability Report Card, which is focused on amplifying the voices of African, Afro-Caribbean, and Black students. I will now turn it over to Senior Research Coordinator Murray to present the highlights of this report.
Thank you, AD Strangway, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez and Director Swaru. In the spring of 2021, the board sought to understand the experiences of students from the start of the 2020 to 2021 academic year, to understand the extent to which classrooms and schools were fostering equitable and inclusive learning environments in light of the ministry review and directives. This research was guided by the following inquiry questions. In what ways have the ministry review and directives impacted the schooling experiences of African, Afro-Caribbean, and Black students? And what changes would students like to see within their school environment that would shift the experiences of African, Afro-Caribbean, and Black students? With the support of various departments within the PDSB, the Research and Accountability Department organized a series of focus groups with middle school and secondary school students who identify as African, Afro-Caribbean, and/or Black. There were 3 focus groups held with middle school students and 4 focus groups held with secondary students. Since the start of the 2020-2021 school year, students noted that there were more discussions on race, racism, and activism within their school spaces. They saw greater representation of Black identities within the curriculum across multiple subjects, and schools had enhanced support for affinity spaces and experiences that showcase Black excellence. However, within the discussions, students shared that they were met with silence on issues that impacted their experiences and well-being, including the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, as well as a curriculum that didn't focus on Black histories and Black History Month due to the pandemic. Within the consultations, students shared changes that they would like to see that would demonstrate their school's commitment toward improving the experiences of Black students. These included greater representation of Black identities in the curriculum, resources, and in school spaces throughout the school year, safe spaces and procedures for reporting racist incidents without fear of reprisal, and the need for educators to both understand and act on their responsibilities in noticing, interrupting, and addressing racist incidents. For our next steps, the Research and Accountability Department has been engaging in discussions with senior team and across some of the directive committees on the findings of the equity report cards, with a focus on how the data can and will inform leadership and decision-making actions, as well as how the board implements the ministry directives. We would like to thank the students who participated in these consultations, as well as the staff who supported with recruitment and facilitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Research Coordinator Murray. Thank you, AD Strangway, and thank you, Director Swarup. We'll wait to see if there are any questions. I, for one, just want to thank you for the comprehensive report, and most of all, I think I'm looking forward to the defining of the success measures in the next report that you speak about. We do have a question from struggling to read some of this here. I don't know what's going on. Yep, I see the question, but it's kind of.
Would you like me to read it, Supervisor Rodriguez?
It's
so,
coming
Trustee
on a dark screen here. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So Trustee Kathy McDonald has said, in reading the report, I'm reminded that of things, the same sentiments that I heard in 2015 through the Facilitating Access, Change, and Equity in Systems or FACES report. We Rise Together was launched in 2016, and it's been a very long time since we, the board, received an update on the work that the We Rise strategy recommended. Engage with the community, deliver anti-Black racism training, update and reflect the curriculum, inspire Black leadership and engagement, accountability to closing the achievement gap for Black students. Can the board get an update where things are with the We Rise Together strategy?
Thank you, AD Strangway. Do we have a response for Trustee McDonald?
So I can start, and then I don't know if LaShawn or AD Logan would like to jump in, but through the work of the directives, we have been building on the work of the We Rise strategy. So trying to integrate them and also work with the teams that were involved in We Rise Together. So With the points that Trustee McDonald laid out, the work is much the same. So as we get some of the indicators in the accountability framework that the research team will be developing for the equity and accountability report card, it will also help us be able to report on some of the work that has been happening around the directives that is related to We Rise. I don't know if AD Logan would like to add something to that.
Yes, hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Unknown participant is now joining.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Katie Logan.
Yes, sorry, because I had to join by my phone, so I'm hoping that you're able to hear me. Yes, so just to add to that as well, you know, we are engaged in work specific to looking at the Black Student Success Strategy, which will involve a review of We Rise. And so there'll be an opportunity to look at those recommendations and in the development of the strategy, be able to support the work that has been established in the past and to be able to put all of those pieces together into a strategy that will be developed into the new year.
Thank you, AD Logan. We have a question from Trustee Sohi. Under discussions and update, it says we need another report for ESL. A motion was passed almost 2 years ago to move forward to make the required changes. Why are we going back to bring another report? There was an extensive report done in 2018 and recommendations from that report are still outstanding. Why? What's the need for another report on ESL programs when we already know the shortfalls? Lastly, the motion was passed without having to engage in this report.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I'm going to assume that Trustee Sohi is referring to the upcoming equity report card addendum for ESL students. And that particular report will be a research report where we hear from students who are in ESL programs so that we can learn from their experiences. So we're not actually assessing the ESL programs, but we're learning from the student voice, like this particular report and the report presented last month.
Seeing no further questions, thank you again to all of you for the detail in the report. And I am in receipt of the Directive 9 report on the Equity Accountability Report Card, amplifying the voices of African, Afro-Caribbean, and Black students. Moving on to Directive 11, Student Equity Advisory Committee, update number 2, Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I will now ask Vice Principal Amit Mehrotra and Principal Omari Roden to present the update number 2 on Directive 11.
Thank you, Director Swaroop, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. The Terms of Reference was created with the help of the PDSB Research Department using a tool called Thought Exchange. This allowed for a free exchange of ideas between students in the group. Questions were asked about the mission and vision of the group, the working agreements for the meetings, guiding principles to guide the meetings, as well as the reporting for the group. Since the creation of the Terms of Reference, the Student Equity Committee has met 3 times, once with Director Swaroop. The students are currently leading the group, as myself, Principal Roden, and Principal Walker are stepping back to allow students to lead. Because if we truly want to honor student identity and voice, we cannot be the ones leading the way. The group is currently working on 3 items, including one on how to get word out that they are available to all students in the Peel District School Board. And I will pass it along to Principal Roden to continue.
Thank you, Ms. Mehrotra. Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. I do want to highlight the fact that I continue to enjoy working with both Mr. Mehrotra and Ms. Walker on this initiative. What we are finding with the students is that the important work of framing how the committee will operate has not hindered their desire to work. It is clear that the representation of students that we have in terms of the variety of identities represented, their backgrounds and interests are blending well. And it's encouraging to see students from across panels and across the school board work together. It is clear that the student advisors have a number of tangible initiatives that they want to work on and recommendations that they would like to bring forward to Director Swaroop. So the group is prepared to meet on a regular basis in between scheduled meetings with the director to ensure that those tangible proposals are put forward and so that they can get guidance from Director Swaroop on those projects.
Thank you, Vice Principal Malhotra, and thank you, Principal Roden. Thank you, thank you, Director Swaroop as well. We'll just wait to see if there are any questions. I know when I read the report, I was quite excited about the work that was going on, and certainly look forward to the amazing success of this particular group, because they are an important voice that needs attention. So really appreciate the work that you're doing and supporting them moving forward. Thank you all again. Seeing no further questions, I am in receipt of the Directive 11 report on the Student Equity Advisory Committee update number 2. Moving on to item C, Directive 21, Student Discipline update number 2, Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I will ask Associate Director Camille Logan to provide update number 2 on Directive 21.
Thank you, Director Swaroop, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. The report before you is the second update to the work specific to the Ministry Directive 21, Student Discipline. The first update was presented to the board at the regular meeting of the board on May 25th and reflects the work of the board and Student Discipline Committee, led by co-chairs Superintendent Soni Gill and Coordinating Principal, System Transformation and Capacity Building, Fiona Lloyd-Henry. The report first update provided a brief background on the Peel District School Board's progress toward the completion of the work defined specific to Directive 21 to date. And then the second update provides our current progress toward the mandated items associated with the directive, in addition to specific work that has been completed and the action items that are ongoing. The report is organized into 5 key areas as they pertain to the deliverables of Directive 21. And I will now turn it over to Coordinating Principal Fiona Lloyd-Henry to provide highlights of the report.
Thank you, AD Logan. This is the second Directive 21 update, and it outlines the board's progress towards implementing the mandates regarding student discipline. The report highlights the steps that the board has taken to transform our approach to student discipline, to center student safety, belonging, and well-being, while doing so in a way that is anti-discriminatory. It describes some of the actions that we have taken to eliminate disparities and disproportionalities in suspensions and expulsions, particularly for Black and Indigenous students and students with special education needs. It also outlines transformative measures we have taken to ensure that principals and vice principals mitigate against bias and ensure the use of fair and proper procedures when making decisions pertaining to student discipline. Just one note on the context of the work. Although Black children make up 10.2% of the student population in Peel, the ministry's review of the board noted that 22.5% of the suspensions meted out to students were assigned to Black children. By addressing and materializing the aims of the Directive 21 mandates, the board demonstrates its commitment to dismantling systemic discrimination, including intersecting forms of anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, and ableism. Transforming our approach to student discipline and meeting the directives necessitate several actions. For example, in Update 1, we reported our plan to expunge the records of Peel students who had had a suspension during their JK to grade 3 years. Since that update, we have, according to the interim policy 89, expunged the requisite suspension records. To date, we've expunged 1,789 records for students who had suspensions in those years. The board has taken this step to ensure that these records are not used in progressive discipline decisions, which we know impact Black and Indigenous children and youth disproportionately. Another important step that we've taken to eliminate systemic discrimination is in the revision of the student discipline policy. Directive 21 mandates that the board develops policies, guidelines, and interpretations, and reviews and revises policies to reflect and further prioritize restorative justice approaches as alternatives to suspensions, expulsions, and exclusions. The board has, with the input of the Directive 21 Steering Committee, students and staff, completed the initial revision of Policy 48, Safe and Accepting Schools. As reported in Update 1, the Directive 21 Steering Committee, comprised of board staff and community members, will continue to provide ongoing insight and support regarding the revision of Policy 48. The revised policy is designed to outline approaches for principals and vice principals to administer student discipline in a way that is fair, timely, and transparent. It is expected that all decisions relating to student discipline at the Peel District School Board are made within human rights and an anti-racism and anti-oppression framework, and that all disciplinary decisions accord with Part 13 of the Education Act. An important note is that, and this is noted in response to the March 2020 ministry review, school administrators must notify and consult with their superintendents before suspension. Additionally, all principals and vice principals must contact their superintendent prior to calls to the police in relation to student discipline, except for emergencies as it pertains to the safety of students, staff, and community. The local police protocol 2021 has been finalized and will support these expectations and establish the relationship and response to calls to the Peel Regional Police. In terms of the training for staff, the Student Disciplinary Capacity Building Series was developed in response to the ministry's mandate that the Peel District School Board establishes mandatory training for principal candidates, new and current principals, that emphasizes the principles of procedural fairness and is delivered through the lens of human rights as they apply to children and youth. Though the review mandated that this training be given to principals, we've taken the further step to have vice principals also complete the capacity building series. There were three sessions, and so far, modules 1 and 2 have been completed, and module 3, all administrators except those who are on leave for varying reasons would have completed these. New vice principals are also in the process of completing these modules and will complete them by the end of this semester. That's in January, the end of January. Attendance at each module training was tracked centrally, and newly appointed principals who require this will have theirs done by the end of the semester. Sorry, I repeated that. For some next steps or for success measures, we will complete the legal review and the consultations into the policy. We will develop the operating procedures to support the revised policies. We will continue to offer professional development for staff, collaborate with the research department to identify the means to collect and use the data to support our work. And for success measures, in addition to instituting the measures to ensure that administrators have the requisite knowledge, the skills, the attitudes, the ideologies, and behaviors to support fair and transparent student disciplinary practices, the success of the implementation of all the component parts of Directive 21 will be measured in the elimination of disparities and disproportionalities in suspensions and expulsions for Black and Indigenous students. Consistent collection and analysis of disaggregated suspension and expulsion data will be provided annually for the equity report card. Thank you. And if anybody has any questions, we're open to answering them.
Thank you, Coordinating Principal Lloyd Henry. Thank you, AD Logan, and thank you, Director Swaroop and Superintendent Gill for your work on this. We'll just wait to see if there are any questions that we have a question from Trustee McDonald. Will newly appointed VPs have to complete all modules before being placed? And same question for principals. How often do principals and VPs have to attend the training, or is it done once during their career? And will the staff code of conduct be updated to reflect the changes in the student discipline work?
I can take some of these questions and hopefully answer them satisfactorily. For the first question, yes, we are in the process of having new vice principals who just completed the process engage in all of the training. All current vice principals and principals would have completed them. In addition to this series of work, there's also a second series that has already been scheduled for administrators. So this is work that will be ongoing. Hopefully it's iterative enough to support the types of transformative changes that we hope to have. There are additional things as well that we will continue to do through our department. So for example, the policy has been, the draft policy has been completed. As soon as the policy is done with all the consultations and so on, we will also engage in additional work with staff to ensure that they have the requisite skills and competencies to do student discipline in a way that is anti-discriminatory. So yes, the learning is ongoing.
And I can add a response with regards to the code of conduct, because the code of conduct is part of the review in policy 48. And so that's comprised within that portion.
Great. Thank you again for all of that, and seeing no further questions. Thank you for the update. It appears that you continue to be on track with the deliverables of this directive, and we look forward, as Coordinating Principal Lloyd Henry said, to examining the success measures as outlined in the report. So I'm in receipt of the Directive 21 report on student discipline. Moving on to Directive 24, Employment Systems Review, Update Number 1, Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I'm going to ask Executive Officer of Human Resources, Masuma Kangura, to provide the first update on Directive 24.
Thank you, Director Swaroop, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. I will present an update on Directive 24, the Employment Systems Review. This is update number 1. This is the first progress report update regarding the ESR. It strategically aligns with accountability, service delivery and enhancement, leadership, and capacity building. By way of brief background, the board retained an independent expert to conduct a comprehensive employment systems review, the ESR, including a review of the implementation of the recommendations of the 2013 Turner Consulting Group research report on hiring and promotion at the Peel District School Board. The update provides the status of the progression of the work on the ESR. The directive stipulated that by June 30th, 2021, and every 6 months thereafter, until the ESR is complete, to submit a report prepared and signed by the expert. As such, update number 1 is due and attached for receipt along with consultant's update number 2. May 5th, 2021, the consultant met with the ESR Advisory Committee. The group comprises of the employee resource groups, a community member representing disabled persons, and members from internal departments within the PDSB. The consultant chaired the meeting. The relevant materials referenced in the meeting were shared with the members in advance of the meeting date. The consultant reviewed the 2013 Journey Ahead report and the action plan. The consultant also discussed each pillar supporting the action plan and sought feedback from the group. In July of 2021, the consultant reviewed the 2013 Journey Ahead implementation, and it was agreed that the work overlaps with the ESR review, and a decision was made to include the Journey Ahead review as part of the ESR. This has impacted the timelines, and a revised timeline was submitted by the consultant. As next steps with the work on the ESR, the consultant has provided a progress report number 2 in accordance with the revised work plan. Meetings with reference and advisory committees are scheduled commencing January 2022. Communication plan development will occur in January of 2022. Focus group discussions occurring March and April of 2022, with the project completion anticipated by June 2022. Would also like to thank Turner Consulting with this project and providing us an update. And this will conclude update number 1 on the ESR progress.
Thank you, Executive Officer Kangura, and thank you, Director Swaroop. We'll wait to see if there are any questions. I had no questions on this particular report update number 1, so thank you for the update, and I'm in receipt of the Directive 24 report on Employment Systems Review update number 1. Moving on to Directive 25, establishment of a centralized applicant tracking and file management system, update number 2. Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I'm going to ask Executive Officer of Human Resources, Masuma Kangura, again, to provide update 2 on Directive 25.
Most certainly. Thank you, Director Swaroop, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. I will also present an update on Directive 25, which is the establishment of a centralized applicant tracking and file management system. This is the second progress report on the implementation of an applicant tracking and file management system. As such, update number 2. As background, the intent behind this initiative is to create a system that will allow for the preservation of all documents related to hiring, promotion, and temporary appointments. This will allow for a defined and clear audit trail that demonstrates a transparent, fair, and objective process. Contained within the review were references to inconsistencies in the application filing and applicant tracking systems across PDSP. With a focus on accountability, Directive number 25 stated, the board shall establish a centralized applicant tracking and file management system as part of the development of the ESR, which includes hiring, promotions, and acting appointments. The board shall immediately preserve all documentation related to hiring, promotions, and temporary appointments. In addressing this directive, Human Resources and Equity Support Services identified 3 main areas that would address ownership of job completion, competition files, and due process. This includes the development of a retention schedule, an applicant tracking system, and a final recruitment model. Includes checks and balances that would ensure that the appropriate documentation was completed and maintained on file. The establishment of a centralized applicant tracking system and file management system will enable the PDSP to be aligned with expectations in Policy 90 hiring practices as mandated by the Policy Program Memorandum 165 and self-evaluate the hiring processes to reflect the PDSP student body and their lived experiences. PDSP has engaged a project manager to review current processes, review other software, and conduct a comprehensive analysis. Also conduct internal consultation, make recommendations to the steering committee, help with the decision making. As the ATS is implemented, the HRIS team will be instrumental in implementing and maintaining this program. By way of next steps, the PDSB has confirmed the retention periods of competition files for a period of 3 years and 10 years. Development of an operating procedure to action the processes. A first draft is ready, with the writing team recommending that additional consultation should occur. The steering committee made the decision to conduct a wider scan of software options. This has been completed, and the committee has made its decision. The committee is now negotiating with the vendor of choice and will be able to confirm its final decision with an implementation plan underway in the early half of the new year. Upon final approval of the applicant tracking and file management system, a communication will be released once implementation plan is approved. The implementation plan will also include system training to all hiring managers and human resources staff. This will be rolled out to all employee groups within PDSP. How will we measure success? Through undertakings of implementing an applicant tracking system by the summer of 2022. Data will be provided annually for the equity report card, demonstrating PDSB commitment to fair and equitable hiring practices for all staff, especially those that identify as Black, African, Caribbean, and Indigenous as part of the focused recruitment strategy. The process and procedures governing this software will be aligned with Policy 90. And that concludes the update for Directive number 25. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Officer Kangura, and thank you, Director Swaroop. Let's wait to see if there are any questions. While we're waiting, just one question. You state on page 5 that a first draft is ready and the writing team recommends that additional consultation is required. Could you please elaborate just briefly on what that means?
So the first draft for the operating procedure on hiring, supporting the pillar of policy 90, as a rough draft, amongst the task group that was assigned, has been completed. However, given how quickly the draft was framed, the committee feels that a meaningful consultation, while it occurred with the groups at the time, but further consultation is required, i.e. consultation with the larger community group, so that we can capture all voice and areas of focus.
Thank you. I'm in receipt of the Directive 25 report on the establishment of a centralized applicant tracking and file management system, update number 2. Moving on to item 16.3, community consultation and renaming Sir John A. Macdonald Senior Public School and review of policy 27, naming of schools, update number 1. Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I'm going to ask Associate Director Camille Logan to provide the first update on policy 27, naming of schools.
Thank you, Director Swaroop, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. At the August 25th board meeting regarding the review of policy 27, naming of schools, community consultation on change of name of Sir John A. Macdonald Public School, 2 resolutions were approved. That staff be directed to form a working group to conduct an equity review of policy 27, naming of schools, and to provide a report to the board regarding amendments to policy 27, and that the working group conduct a community consultation, the results of which shall be provided in a board report with respect to the naming of the school. This report serves as to provide the first update of our work toward meeting the specific deliverables associated with the Directive 18, which speaks to ensure that all PDSB policies, practices, and structures are audited, that are also examined and or developed and implemented using anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and anti-colonial principles. The purpose of this report is to provide a proposed timeline with respect to the community consultation that will take place for the renaming of Sir John A. Macdonald Senior Public School and the subsequent amendments to policy 27, naming of schools. I will now turn it over to Superintendent of Equity and Indigenous Education, Anti-Racism and Anti-Oppression, and Community Partnerships, Donna Ford.
Thank you, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, the table highlights the actions tracking the community consultation since the fall and the anticipated presentation of a name for the renaming of the school. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Ford. Thank you, AD Logan. Thank you, Director Swaroop. We'll wait to see if there are any questions. I just have one to begin with while we perhaps wait others.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
Yes.
It looked like my chat is not working, and I do have a question.
Okay.
Because if you don't mind, I may ask it. I was trying to use the chat, but it's not working. I don't know what's going on with my computer here. As a trustee, the main trustee for that school, I was told, and in the report, I was supposed to be part of this process, and nobody has reached out to me, nobody has spoken to me, nothing is happening. So I would like to understand what is going on and why I'm not involved in this. I'm still, as a trustee, I'm still a trustee, an elected trustee in this community and represent this school.
Thanks, Trustee Green. Is there has the trustee been consulted on this or been asked to be part of the group?
So part of our process, thank you for the question, our process was to reach out to community members, staff, and students, hearing that Trustee Green, that did not happen. The process is still underway. There are many actions yet to take place. We'll ensure that you are brought in and apprised of the actions to date and anticipated actions going forward.
Thank you for that. A comment from Trustee Dakrub. Very happy to see this report and next steps. Great to see this moving forward and look forward to the renaming ceremony. The question that I also wanted to raise was, while all of this is occurring, what is currently going on with the school name and its artifacts? Are we just continuing on till we have more consultation? Is that the issue?
Thank you for the question. So concurrently, as the consultation is taking place, staff are also engaging with our facilities department, our learning technology support services department to prepare for changes, as we anticipate that there will be a name change, so that once community have identified a new name, immediately the current name will be removed.
Thank you for all of that, and seeing no further questions, and recognizing that as you move forward that you'll include Trustee Green in the follow-up work. Accept this report as information pertaining to the renaming of Sir John A. Macdonald Senior Public School and review of Policy 27, naming of schools update number 1. Moving on to item 16.4, Vocational 2, update number 1, all pathways including technological and skilled trades programs. Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I will now pass it on to Associate Director Camille Logan to provide the first update on Vocational 2.
Thank you, Director Swaroop, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. Significant recommendations from 2020 Peel District School Board Ministry Review was to engage in specific plans and actions to dismantle streaming and review pathway planning, which includes specific information and expectations around the dismantling of the Vocational 2 program across the district. Of note is that the Vocational 2 program was identified as a key element of the board's plans for de-streaming. The process would include the design and implementation of a substantive secondary school program in the schools where this program resides, which is a partial fulfillment of the 2 mandates by the Ministry of Education. So I will now turn it over to Superintendent of Education, Jennifer Newby, Student Learning Support Services, to provide an overview of the report, which is an update number 1.
Thank you, AD Logan, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. Good evening, everyone. I'll begin with some historical context. Originally intended as a workplace pathway, vocational schools were dedicated to the experiential and contextual development of knowledge and abilities associated with skilled trades. In terms of academic pathways, these schools offered mostly locally developed courses in Vocational 1 and applied courses in Vocational 2. In March of 2020, the Ministry Review noted that teachers and guidance counselors steered Black and Indigenous students towards limited pathways. Notably, Black students were steered towards applied and vocational programs that leave students excluded from university and prepared only for very limited post-secondary pathways. In terms of current actions, the dismantling of the Vocational 2 programs will have a significant impact on Judith Nyman and West Credit secondary schools in the areas of student enrollment and staffing. These 2 schools are not part of the feeder school structure. In addition to the Vocational 2 programs, these 2 schools also house substantial skilled trades programs and a range of special education and self-contained classes. In consultation with the school administration and the Vocational 2 Steering Committee, it has been determined that the addition of a fully de-streamed cohort would be an appropriate solution to the enrollment challenges caused by the removal of the Vocational 2 program. This transformation would allow for, number 1, Judith Nyman Secondary School and West Credit Secondary School to maintain the necessary enrollment to continue to run all programs effectively. 2, integration opportunities for students in special education classes and the Vocational 1 program. 3, the re-imaging of both schools as complex and modern schools with a variety of program offerings. 4, a pilot open enrollment process to occur at these 2 specific locations involving course selection by students not limited to a specific catchment area. In terms of the communication plan, West Credit Secondary School and Judith Nyman Secondary School now offer 4 types of programming for 2022. De-streamed grade 9, regional learning choices programs in terms of regional skilled trades, autism spectrum disorder contained classes, and vocational 1, which is currently under revision. We will communicate through our guidance counselors, through the communications department support through board websites and flyers, and finally information sessions, transition meetings, IPRC reviews at Judith Nyman and West Credit Secondary Schools. This concludes the update, and thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Newby, and thank you, AD Logan, Director Swaroop. We'll await any questions that might come up. I just had one question in terms of the appendices, specifically just trying to kind of understand the disproportionality index. And in the pathways that identified as academic and applied, there seemed to be some consistency in the percentage of students in the PDSB. And when we got to the pathway that identified as locally developed, there seemed to be a change. Was there a reason for that by any chance? I'm looking specifically at racial background white or racial, the one that says racial background black seems consistent, but the couple others don't seem consistent. Is there different data or the N changed here? I'm just trying to get some understanding of the disproportionality index in those pathways. You see what I'm referring to?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull it up. I'm not sure.
That's okay. Like I think it just perhaps needs to be looked at, and I'm not sure if there's a reason for it. You might just want to take a look at it because it changes the disproportionality index a little, and I think it kind of just gives you different reasons as to how to kind of navigate that piece. That's all.
Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. Yeah, thank you again for the report, and I am now in receipt of the report on Vocational 2 update number 1, all pathways including technological and skilled trades programs. 2022 borrowing resolution for school board current expenditures, Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I'll ask Associate Director Jaspal Gill to share the report.
Thank you, Director Swaroop, and through you, Supervisor Rodriguez. This borrowing resolution, if approved, will allow the board to borrow funds from time to time to meet its ongoing operating expenditures during the year 2022. This normally happens when there is a time gap between the payment of expenditures and when the board receives funds either from the ministry or from the local municipality. The resolution also authorizes the Associate Director of Operations and Equity of Access to apply board revenue to repay the borrowed funds as well as the interest charges. Happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you, AD Gill, and thank you, Director Swaroop. I don't see any questions, and I believe that this is just an annual declaration that routinely comes to board for approval. And I approve the 2022 borrowing resolution for school board current expenditures. Moving on to item 16.6, boundary changes, Elm Drive Public School, Ellengale Public School, Chris Hadfield Public School, Fairview Public School, Camilla Road Senior Public School, and the Valley Senior Public School. Director Swaroop.
Through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, I'm going to ask Associate Director Jaspal Gill to present the boundary changes update.
Yeah, thank you, Director Supru. Actually, I'm going to ask Randy Wright, our Controller of Planning and Accommodation, to present the report, and we will then be happy to respond to any questions. So, Controller Wright.
Yeah. Thank you, Associate Director Gill and Director Swarup. And through you, Supervisor Rodriguez, the recommended boundary changes outlined in our report tonight are driven by the construction completion of the new Elm Drive Public School and the need to balance enrollments at six schools in the high-growth community of City Center located in central Mississauga. The implementation of the new boundaries, if approved, would take effect on the first day of school, September 2022. This evening's report is the culmination of a year-long review of the proposed boundary changes in consultation with the Superintendent of Education, principals of the six schools, as well as the trustees for wards 1 and 7, 3 and 4, and ward 6, respectively, Trustee John Marchand, Trustee Sue Lawton, and Trustee Robert Cronker. Thank you for your attention. Elm Drive students have been temporarily accommodated at the former Ash Grove Public School for several years while the board waited for ministry approvals to proceed. Construction of the new school is currently underway, and the school is expected to be ready for occupancy spring 2022. In the meantime, enrollment growth from infill development has put significant pressure on other schools in the city center community. As an indication of this pressure, enrollment class caps are currently in place at Chris Hatfield and Fairview Public Schools. In summary, the purpose of these boundary changes is to establish a boundary for the new Elm Drive Public School, with the new school centrally located in its catchment area, and to provide enrollment relief to the surrounding schools that serve the city center community. The report outlines the rationale and the implementation plan for each of the six schools. As is our practice, affected students who are in their graduating grades next year will have the option to remain at their current school or move to their new school. Busing would be provided in accordance with Transportation Policy Number 39. Finally, as part of our communication plan, information meetings would be scheduled in January 2022 to provide information to families and students about these changes and to confirm the school they would attend. Thank you, Supervisor Rodriguez, for considering our boundary recommendations this evening.
Thank you, Controller Wright. Thank you, Gill. Thank you, Director Swarup. We'll just wait to see if there are any questions. I've got just one question in terms of the big picture. Just taking a look at some of the numbers in terms of as you look out over the years at the change of enrollment, it appears that Ellengale Public School seems to not be the greatest beneficiary in terms of the structure. And I'm just looking at the total change for 2022 for Elm Drive from the other schools. And I think you spoke to it just briefly, Controller Wright, in terms of when you look at what the decreases in the student population at each of the schools, it seems that about 75 people go to Elm Drive. However, there doesn't seem to be any sort of movement at Ellengale in particular, and there seems to be another 33 students that appear at Elm Drive, and I'm assuming that that's just enrollment coming from other sources other than the students that are just simply moving from one school to the other. Would that be accurate?
Yes, it would. And what we're trying to do is not have cases where students walk by their school or within sight of their school discover they can't attend that school. Part of these boundary changes take into account those two factors. Your comments on Ellengale are well taken. That is number one on our priority list of 10 capital projects or improvements. And we're confident that the ministry will see it our way and grant sufficient funds to do a major improvement at Ellengale, which we see at the west end of the city center community, providing relief for future growth. That is something that I think will definitely result in a further report that'll be coming back to the board for review and approval in the next 2 to 3 years. And so that would explain. Yes, sir.
So it's identified as a priority, a capital priority on the move forward.
That is correct.
Question from Trustee Lawton. Again, our planning and accommodations department staff have done an amazing job over several years working through these changes. Thank you for your dedication to students. So it's more of a comment. Thank you, Trustee Lawton.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for all the work. I really appreciated the detail in the report, and I approve the following boundary changes for Elm Drive Public School, Ellengale Public School, Chris Hadfield Public School, Fairview Public School, Camilla Road Senior Public School, and the Valley Senior Public School. Thank you again to all for your work on this. Moving on to item number 17.1, motion reinstallation of flagpoles, and I'd like to turn that over to Trustee Crocker, please.
Thank you, Supervisor. So you've all seen the motion. I spoke to it pre-COVID at a long ago meeting, so it's not anything new to trustees, or it shouldn't be. Clearly, the intention here is to erect a second flagpole at all PDSB schools, and I would hope other workplaces, field centers, for instance, and of course the Old Britannia School and so on. Displaying the Indigenous flag at all our work sites would be a visible, tangible acknowledgement of our commitment to truth and reconciliation. And I would add that it would reinforce the notion that schools see themselves as community role models. I'm aware that this is something that can't just pop out of the ground tomorrow. Trustees may know that there are a couple of schools that, the new schools, that already have a second flagpole in place, waiting for an Indigenous flag. I would suggest that there are places, one site that comes to mind would be West Credit Secondary School, which I drive by regularly or walk by, and the front of the school is still under construction and is part of a partnership with the city of Mississauga. And I think, like right now might be a pretty good time to, while they're undergoing that construction, to put in a second flagpole. I would like to see it as start, Supervisor, if I may add, that we make sure that there is one in each municipality. I would suggest that we try and put them in at a busy site on a busy street. So Mayfield and Caledon would come to mind. I think that David Suzuki in Brampton, it's on a busy street, and of course there's a connection with the earth there that's unmistakable. I would think that that Arundel Secondary School at the corner of Erin Mills Parkway and Dundas would be another busy place, and of course where else but Mississauga Secondary School, also on a busy street, and of course it bears the name of the owners of the treaty rights to the area. We need to put these up at elementary schools too. Our coordinator for Indigenous Studies points out quite rightly that a good place to start with the elementary schools would be the school that I choose to call right now Center Street School in Brampton, former John A. MacDonald. I think Champlain Trail in Mississauga would be a good one, again reflecting our acknowledgement of the colonial name, and perhaps some other sites that are particularly close to the Credit River, which historically is part of the partnership, major part of the partnership between the Indigenous peoples and the rest of us. So that's about it, Supervisor, unless there are any questions.
Thanks, Trustee Crocker, and thank you for your reflective thinking behind it. Really appreciate that as well. And we'll wait and see if there are any questions. Yep. Seeing none, thank you for the motion, and I refer the motion to staff to follow up with and bring back to the board the details of their findings as set out in the motion. Thank you again, Trustee Crocker.
Thank you, Supervisor.
There are no further trustee notices of motion, and we've now come to item number 19, and having no further business, I now adjourn the meeting for Wednesday, December the 15th, 2021. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and take good care. Bye-bye.